stuck here. The cops won't bother me. Well guys, look what I just bought here. I just bought another bike. So yesterday I picked up an NC700, and today I just bought this very inexpensive fjr1300 that I bought for $1,000. So this bike cost me $1,000, and it's got a few problems. It's got a few things that are wrong with it, but man, it's comfortable. This is the initial impression of riding an fjr1300. You know, I had a ST1300 for a short amount of time. So I picked this up in a very expensive part of the DC metro area called Tacoma Park. And man, this thing is comfortable. The wind protection is amazing on this. And I love getting good deals on bikes. So the guy, you know, the backstory is that the guy's from Alaska and he moved here. And around this area, it's a little bit of a tricky situation because it's very expensive. And people have no garages here. So this bike kind of suffered a little bit from being outside. And you can see it, it's just, it's kind of dirty. And it's missing a few things, so I'm gonna have to repair it. I see the windscreen moving around a lot, but this is a 1300cc shaft driven motorcycle, and I like it already, man. It's comfortable. It is comfortable, and this is a rough road. It's like much smoother than the NC700. There's things I'm gonna have to do. The plastics, they're kind of like, there's a couple of broken things, missing bolts. There's the battery that needs to be replacing. The fork seals are leaking. At least the left one is leaking. So that's something that I need to look at. And today is kind of a terrible day here in the DC area. The mirrors here. So, you know, when you find a bike like this, an fjr1300, this one's got 49,000 miles. If you don't know about this bike, this is a missile. And it's even got like a electric windscreen. Look at that. But there's something broken over there. Look at that. Yeah, there's the metal piece that broke off. It's a very comfortable bike. It feels very similar to my ST1300, but a little bit sportier. There's a little bit more of a lean in. So it could be that it's not the right thing for a lot of people, but a lot of people think this is a sport touring bike, and it is, but it's a fast sport touring bike, shaft driven. I believe it's got 140 horsepower, so it feels a little bit faster than most people think. I think a lot of people have forgotten these bikes because everybody wants like the newest and greatest, and I think the trend now is getting adventure bikes, large adventure bikes. So these things are often neglected. People get them, people forget them, and they make great buys. You can get actually an fjr1300, and I mean, this thing takes off. You can get an fjr1300 for, you know, $3,000, and it doesn't need any work. It just it's a fantastic bike, and it's a fantastic sort of build. Even if you were to make this a, man, look at I can feel the power of this bike. This thing is a rocket. You could make this a naked bike and you would have a 1300cc modern or relative modern motor with a shaft drive. I mean, this thing would be a fantastic build for cafe racers and stuff. I like it just the way it is. I'm not into like changing bikes very much. Holy cow, this thing is so fast. The ST1300 felt very different. So when you compare the ST1300 to this FJR, the ST1300 feels cool. The motor feels like a little bit more different because the ST is a V4, and it's a V4 sideways, so it's even cooler. But what I didn't like about the ST was that it had a very strange high-speed wobble at around 110 miles an hour. the front end would shake, and a lot of people did correct those problems in later models, but to me that's just a shoddy design. And even with the ST, there was so many accidents due to the because you know, cops, I think in France or England, used ST1300s for police work, and there was a couple of motorcycle related deaths dealing with the ST1300. So they did a lot of recalls, and eventually Honda did own up to this. So there is a very big fault with the ST1300 that most riders would not even care about, because not everybody goes 100 miles an hour, but cops do, because I guess they need the power. Man, this bike is so smooth. And you know, there's a couple of things, you know, it's from 2005, and my VSROM was from 2006. And the clock is just so dated on this. Look at the turn signals, they're so large and obnoxious. There's some like weird thing, and they're still using the checkered pattern for the turn signals. That's kind of odd. You know, I'm wearing regular pants, and the wind protection on this thing is so good that my legs are not even getting that cold. But it's kind of antiquated. The cluster up front looks really passe. I do like the NC700s and CB500s clocks, but they're much more modern, of course. I believe like 6 or 7 years more. 49,000 miles, that's not a bad price for this. I do just have to fix the plastic on this, but it's an extremely good bike. It's an attractive bike, and the good thing about the FJR as opposed to the ST1300 is that it looks good without the bags. So right now I don't have the bags on, and it looks pretty fantastic. But the ST1300, when I had it, if you remove the bags, they look like dog shit. They really look bad. If I want to keep this bike just based on its speed, it's a little bit too fast for most roads. This thing is fast. And when you compare it, an FJR 1300 to a VSROM, it's very different. But people get very upset at me for comparing them, but you can always compare it. As a motorcyclist, you kind of compare everything to other bikes, and I've had a lot, so I like to compare one to the other. Of course, the closest competition to this would be the ST1300. But look at those blinkers. You see how big they are? Of course, they have a little digital dash on the side. 49,000 miles. I mean, that's very little miles for this thing. Whew. VSROM definitely feels a little bit fun to ride. This one does not feel fun at all. I think I'm just worried about speeding tickets. I do love the shaft drive, man. That's like so easy to live with. I don't like touching this plastic. My knee actually hits this plastic here. Man, it shifts so smooth. Yeah, I'm taking it easy in the corners as well. I don't really know how this bike handles in the corners, but it's such a large bike, and of course it's wet, so, and this thing's got a lot of power, so easily to slide out. Kind of stuck here. The cops won't bother me.